Hey friends, welcome back to another video. It is officially fall, so today we are going to be painting one of my favorite things, fall leaves. Let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, this is my first official video back after my retreat from Spain, and we are jumping right into the fall. I love the fall. This is my favorite season. I will say I do have a bit of a cold, so if my voice sounds a little off, that is why, but we are going to make this work. And I thought today we would paint some leaves. It is one of my favorite things to paint during the fall season. So we're going to be doing that, and I'm going to be painting in my handmade watercolor journal from Brush and Binding. So we're going to open it all up. I'm just going to hold open my pages and we're going to do a cute little spread here. So you're going to need a pencil and an eraser just so we can trace out some leaf images, and then your watercolors. And for my brush, I am using a size 8 round. And then at the end, I was thinking of adding some colored pencils just to give a little bit of shading and detail, just a little bit of fun texture. You don't have to do this step. You can always do it with watercolor, but if you would like to grab that, you can do that at the end as well. Okay. So the first leaf I'm going to draw is a maple leaf. So I'm going to kind of guide you through it. While you are drawing it, I would definitely suggest doing it really nice and light so it doesn't show underneath your watercolor, but if it does, that's okay. This is kind of my foolproof way of drawing a maple leaf. So I'm going to draw a really long line, and I'm going to draw a little kind of horizontal line at the bottom. This is the bottom of the leaf. This is going to be the top. Then I'm going to have 2 more lines, kind of like a shape of a V coming out, and it's not going to be as tall as this one. And then I'm going to have 2 more, a little bit shorter, all connecting back to this line. Then you're going to start creating your points. So this is where it kind of, you can become a little bit more jagged with it. It does not have to be perfect. You don't necessarily want to draw a perfect leaf. It has a lot more character when it has like kind of rough edges or maybe even some holes to it. Okay, so we're going to start with doing a little point up here. We're going to do another little smaller one like that and kind of come down like so. You're going to do the same thing over here. So it's going to have a little point at the top, another one, it's like a little crown, and another one. And you're just going to scoop and join them together like so. I'm going to try and make this one a little bit taller. Okay, same thing over here. Little point, point on the side, and scoop. And then one down here. So point, little point, and scoop, point, like so. So it's just like a little triangle, 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 and they scoop and kind of meet together. Now I like to add a couple other little points. I don't like how it's like so smooth here, so I might add, another little rough little point there, just so they're not perfect. I don't want them to be these perfect little scoops. You can even add an extra little point. It doesn't have to be, picture perfect, like I was saying. I feel like this one could be a little bit further over that, but I like when they're definitely a little bit rougher. Okay, and now they're not going to come right back here. We're going to do an extra little dip point there, just like they're kind of like crunched up leaves. Now this is quite dark, so I am going to lighten it up because I don't want a lot of the pencil showing underneath. Okay, so I'm just going to lighten it up with my kneaded eraser. We're going to draw our little stem here and a little kind of notch at the bottom like that. There is our first leaf. Okay, again, you don't want it to be perfect. There's beauty in the imperfections. All right, our next one is going to be kind of like an oak leaf. I do want it to come, actually no, we're going to make a more simple one. I don't know what kind of leaf this is, but I'm going to start with a line, and I'm going to go right over the crease because I want it to be like a spread. So here we're going to draw a little notch for the bottom of the stem. You can draw your guideline here of the base of your leaf. I'm going to draw a little point, and it's just going to be kind of one of those simple leaf shapes. I'm just coming right back down. Now, if you would like, you can draw a little kind of spikes, but I actually like to do that with watercolor. And I'll show you how I paint it with my brush. But if you would like to do the little kind of textured edges, you can. I'm just going to erase this to make it look like a really light guide. And I'll show you how we'll do those notch kind of edges after. So that's a simple leaf. Let's do kind of like an oak leaf here. So I'm going to start with my line down the middle to our little notch at the bottom for the bottom of the stem, and just kind of like our little guideline for where the bottom of the leaf ends. Okay, so this one we're going to do a V and another V like that. Now all you're going to do, same kind of thing as this, we're going to do a little point at the top, maybe another little kind of point on either side, and we're going to scoop. Okay, 3 points, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you're just doing these kind of points, and between each scoop or each part, you're going to scoop. You can always do it first, like the little points, 1, 2, 3, to give yourself a guideline. It's kind of the same as this, just a different shape. So triangle, 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 and they scoop to kind of meet together. Now, if you are a part of my Patreon, I will have a tracing template for all of these if you are interested at the most basic tier. Okay, and a little scoop there, and then it kind of just meets at the way back. Okay, now if you want to, in between these scoops again, you can kind of, actually this one's kind of like a little bit off, so let me just fix this. A little bit more texture in between, just maybe an extra scoop or whatever, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so there's our third leaf. Let's do one with like multiple leaves here, and we're just gonna do simple shapes, kind of like ovals like this, that kind of come to a point. So you can do your little stems if you like, if that helps to do a little guide. And I like to stagger it, and imagine your stems are like V's, not L's. You don't want them coming straight out. You want them like a V shape. Like that. Like that. Like that. And like that. And that's it. And then one last one. We could do the same kind of thing, but maybe some pointed. So let's do our stem. I always have like a curved stem, and this one you're just going to do longer pointed leaves. And again, you can do our little V shapes for our stems, like so. Typically with these shapes, I don't draw them first, but it's up to you if you'd like to. You can have some overlapping each other. Totally up to you. Okay, now comes the fun part. So with each leaf, what you're going to do is you are going to wet it up. Now, it's going to be hard for you to see where I'm adding the water, so I'm just going to tint it slightly. I'm going to pick what color I want for this leaf. I'm going to do a red leaf, so I'm just going to do a really, really light wash just so you can see where I'm placing it, all the color. But what you want to do is we're going to do some wet on wet. So wet it up with just water, or just a light wash of the color you want to use. And you want to use a decent amount of water to make sure it all stays wet for as long as possible. So it gives you time to add water to the whole shape so it doesn't dry. Okay, I just keep adding water to my brush, and I just use the color just so I can see where I'm placing the water. Because one of my favorite things to do with leaves like this is the wet on wet technique. Okay, so here it's all wet. And if there's too much water, you can always just kind of mop it up a little bit with your brush. But now comes the fun part where you're going to just drop in color. So you can drop in yellow, orange, whatever you like, and you're just gonna let it do its thing. Like watch the color kind of dance around the page. Now, if there's too much water, it might not bloom. Like right here, I have a lot of water. So it's not blooming as much as I'd like. So I'm just taking my dry damp brush, or not dry damp, my slightly damp brush, and I'm just lifting up some of that color or that water. And then I go back in and I just tap all these colors around and let them bleed together. Like, look at these really cool effects that you get. And it just looks like the most perfectly turned leaf. Now, I like to add a little bit of brown. It's like they're starting to kind of get their little crunchy brown bits in, especially around the corners. The little turns here, I like to add it there. And at some of the edges. And it just makes it look really realistic. Might even add a little bit of purple, why not? Just for a little bit of darkness. But yeah, you can just drop in that color however you like in whatever pattern you like. I'm gonna grab a little bit of purple and just make the stem this dark reddish purple. And really you can keep going or finish however you like. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. And if you're worried about making a muddy brown, you kind of actually want that for these, so it's perfect. Okay, so finish however you'd like, and then you're going to move on to your next leaf. Okay, so there's that one. This one, I think I'm going to do a green leaf. Again, I'm just going to take a really light wash just so I can show you where I'm placing the color. We are going to apply it all over the leaf, making sure it's nice and wet. And I'm also going to show you how to do those jagged edges simply. Okay, so I'm making sure this is nice and wet. It does get a little tricky when you paint like on a crease here, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to get those jagged edges. So I'm going to get a little bit more green. And all you're going to do is your brush is pointing towards the point, and you're just going to use your brush to kind of make these little points going off of that initial leaf shape. And you're just bringing it down. You press and drag back into the shape. And it creates this natural little jagged edge, which works perfectly. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre in here. And again, we're just dropping in that color. You can have some darker areas with the green. I find it easier to do those edges with my brush rather than drawing each one and trying to paint in the lines. We're going to do our little stem there. Again, a little bit more yellow, I think. And then I might even get a little bit of our brown. Just add it a little bit to the edge. Maybe some of the edges are a little bit crunchy and starting to turn. And there's that one. We're gonna let that dry. Okay, so we're gonna continue doing this with all of them, using whatever colors you'd like. It does not have to be the same colors as me. You can really make it anything you want. Just wet them all up, start dropping in that color, and enjoy one of the most therapeutic ways to paint leaves. And I'm just going to continue with these so you guys can kind of watch how I do it. But yeah, I will come back once they are all dry, show you how they look and how I would add the colored pencil. Okay, so now that they're dry, you could always go over the veining area with some watercolor in your brush. Or what I've really been enjoying doing is taking some colored pencils, just a bunch of neutral colors, and using those to draw the veins, like so. I just feel like it adds such a nice texture to it that's different than watercolor. And I'll even like just, you know, maybe add a little bit of texture to some of the leaves. And it's just another fun alternative to add mixed media to your work. Or if you feel like maybe you have a harder time, you know, getting those really fine lines with a brush, you could always use colored pencils. There's no rules of right or wrong with this. So I like to just add a little bit of darkness, like I said, in those little curved areas, which are fun. Let me grab, and I don't really have an exact method to what colors I use for which leaf, just as it goes together. This one, I'm just going to do a bunch of V's for this veining. And just have fun with it. So be creative, enjoy the process, and make some beautiful leaves using the wet on wet technique, watercolor, and your colored pencils. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. Have a great day, guys. Bye.